Well, I want to welcome everyone to our webinar. We haven't had a webinar in a few months, and we're pretty excited about our new program called Digital Scan. So that's one of the reasons we wanted to explain it to everyone. So Nikki and I have partnered together to give you a great overview of what Digital Scan is and Full Scan. You noticed I've got this shirt that says Digital Scan Complete. So we were actually at a conference. DNA Behavior was designated an AI Innovator of the Year award by Financial Planning Magazine last month. And so we're very excited about it. It's really predicated on this digital scan program that we're going to talk about today. So fast track client understanding, because one of the challenges we've always had as a company is, somebody will buy a subscription from us and then they have to have their clients or their employees take the questionnaire, which is really part of the process, but it's somewhat, in some individuals' mind, it can be a little difficult to actually implement that. So with our digital scan program, it's really a frictionless program that we'll talk about this morning. And I want to welcome myself, Leon Morales. I'm the president of DNA Behavior. I've been with the company for 12 years. I am a huge believer in human behavior can accelerate if you really know how people work together and really understand not only from your employees and teams having a great culture in your company, but also a great culture with your clients. And Nikki and I will explain that, break that down a little bit more as we go through that. I'm a huge runner, cyclist, outdoor guy, so I love that. And with that, I'll just let Nikki introduce herself and we'll get started.
Well, hello. Thanks, Leon, and hello to everyone. Welcome. My name is Nikki Evans. I'm the lead implementation consultant here at DNA Behavior, which is a mouthful to say I help people get the most out of their system. So I help train and consult with folks on how to best use the insights in their system. I'm a professional coach, and I love learning, and I'm a big geek about word games. So those are some of my favorite things to do. Leon and I were just talking about going hiking too in the mountains. So we're looking forward to that coming up. But today, really excited to speak to you all about how to use behavioral insights practically with some of the new technology that we have coming up, and then how to even dive deeper on that. So we will jump right in with that.
All right. This particular slide really talks about our offering, the digital scan, and many of you may not even understand what that means, but we've actually built an algorithm that leverages off of the 2.5 million profiles that we've had over the last 20 years. And we've actually built a algorithm that'll actually do a digital scan for anyone that you want to understand, whether it's a client or a team member, without them taking a questionnaire. That's really what real breakthrough for us was in the company, is really being able to get that digital scan, the accuracy levels between 75 and 80%. So it's highly accurate around the information that you do get. The full scan, which we'll actually move into as the second part of this, is where somebody takes the questionnaire, the 10-minute discovery, because you really do want that 97.1% accuracy. But talking about the digital scan, it's a real competitive advantage for DNA Behavior. It really unlocked the ability to work with some of the largest enterprise companies that we've ever worked with, really understanding those unique behaviors and preferences. And it's very fast. It's being integrated into our production environment, which will go live in mid-December, and where you can actually do a digital scan of an individual with just information that you have on their first name, last name, email address, and their job title, or information that you do have, that'll actually do that scan in seconds and then put it into your account. It really does leverage as I mentioned, the database of about 2.5 million profiles. It predicts over 4,000 behavioral traits for one individual. So it can get down to where we really work with it is in hyper-personalization. And then I wrote a great blog article about it 2 months ago around hyper-personalization. We know that today, especially in today's climate, people want you to communicate based on sort of their sort of unique sort of, learning styles and communication styles. And Nikki's going to break that down a little bit more in the next slides, but you can really see where this digital scan will really help sort of move the business forward, whether it's you're doing client acquisition or you're just getting started and you want to have the whole client base and the team member base scanned to be able to have that to get you up and running in your account. All right. So
All
that gives
right.
us a little background in digital scan, and I'll turn it over to Nikki.
So what we want to do today is share with you 4 scenarios where we have seen our tools work really well, and walk you through so what about a digital scan, so I can get information about people. What do I do with that information? So we're going to start off with 2 stories about using the digital scan and how to use it, and then we will do 2 stories on our full scan. So when we think about what this digital solution is really for, as Leon mentioned, this is a frictionless um, discovery, because it walks your clients through understanding, or it gets you an experience of your clients without them having to do anything with you except for you to know their name. And so this first use case is really built on building your practice, your marketing practice, and getting to the right people using behavioral marketing techniques. So if you have a client list, or if you have a prospect list, if you run a digital scan on that prospect list, we can tell you how you want to approach each of those different clients on that list. So this is a great use case for the digital scan, understanding not only how to market to people and get those prospects into leads and get them into conversations with you, but also maybe what kind of offers you want to provide to those people. So we've broken this down so that it's very easy. You get 4 different profiles from this digital scan. So with the take charge profile, these are folks that want to weigh in on the decision. These are folks that want to have that information, that want to help create the activity with you. They are people that will be pretty self-reliant. So if there's a do-it-yourself option, these folks want to know the do-it-yourself option. If there's a way to get a couple of bullets so that they get familiar with you, that's what they want to do. So with that take charge profile, here you're going to see people that want bullets, that want the summary, that want to have an option to take action or to weigh in on something. So the way you're going to market to those people is to be brief in your marketing, to give them the benefits, to give them some opportunity to customize with you. And you might want to set up products that allow that too. These are going to be your do-it-yourselfers. So you might want to advertise your do-it-yourself option for these folks. That's going to be something that this group is going to be highly attracted to. Now, your outgoing folks are going to be much more excited to see a graphic, to understand who's involved in this. So if I was going to send a message to this group, I would want it to have some social proof. What are stories that have worked and who's been involved in those stories? So when I'm talking to this group, when I want to do marketing to this group of outgoing folks, I want to paint a picture of what it's like to work with us. Who else has seen success with us? What kind of people do we work with? What kind of community will they be a part of if they join and start working with us? I want it to be simple. I want it to be easy for them to get to work with us. And I want them to know, who are they going to get to meet? Who are they going to get to work with? Now, for the patient folks, they're not going to love a do-it-yourself option. They're going to want to have more of a white glove option. So they're going to want to know that they're following the right instructions, that someone's got their back, that they can feel safe working with you, that you have a procedure that they can follow and that they can get right. With this group, safety and personal attention is very important to them. So if I'm marketing to this group, I want to make sure that I tell them exactly what to expect at each point of the process. I want them to feel safe and to feel like I'm going to be with them for that step of the process. If I'm offering services to these people, maybe if I want them to do a do-it-yourself, maybe I also offer them a concierge to walk through that do-it-yourself experience with them, if that's an offering that you have, or a done with them or done for them service would probably really relate to these folks. They're going to enjoy that experience. Again, you want to emphasize a personal relationship. So while your take charge and outgoing styles may be thrilled to get to meet lots of people in your organization and get to speak to the influencers and the leaders in your organization, Your more patient people are going to feel better if they know that they have one person that they get to build a deeper relationship with, if they know that they have a point of contact that they can go to with questions that will be available to them to answer. And then with your planned group, these are your folks that want to read all the terms and conditions. These are the people that really want to do a deep dive on all of the information that you have. So they're going to want to see a menu of all of the available offerings that you have and a benefits analysis statement, but a place that they can go and read more. So here, if you have products that you're offering this group, you want to have links to the prospectus that they can go and look and get more information on exactly what that product offering is going to be. These are folks that are going to ask the detailed questions. They're going to want to know the nitty-gritty of things, and they're going to want to have some time to reflect. So here you might offer something that has a lot of information with an opportunity for a follow-up call to provide them some things up front, provide them an agenda up front, and then allow them some time to reflect. These are people that you might want to set follow-up calls with ahead of time, or allow them some opportunity to read material before you meet with them so that they feel informed. These are likely people that won't make a decision. Your patient and planned people are not likely to make a decision right away on things. They're going to be more careful. They're going to be more driven to be thoughtful about the decisions that they make. Your take charge and outgoing people might be more ready in that first meeting. So again, you can design your sales process around this. For your take charge and outgoing people, you can design a sales process that allows them a yes or no decision right in that first meeting and allows them to take action and get started. For your patient and planned community, while that could be an option, it might feel even more supportive to them to offer them an information gathering and a relationship building session first, and then some time to think, and then a follow-up meeting that answers their questions and allows them an opportunity to make a decision. So rather than pressuring them for a yes, no in your first meeting, setting up from the beginning that your process with them is going to take longer because they're going to be more thoughtful and they're going to need a little bit longer. So the way you do your marketing drips with them might be different than the way you're doing with your other group. So this is what we mean by being able to do mass customization. So you've taken your prospect list, you've run it through a digital scan, you've bucketed them into these 4 buckets. And now, without having talked to any of these people, you can get really specific about what do I want to offer? What do I want that sales process to look like? What do I want those marketing messages to look like? So again, for take charge, I want those messages to be quick. I want them to be easy to make a decision on. I want them to have some opportunity to be self-service or for me to weigh in on, make a choice and add to the customization of that. For my outgoing, I want to tell a story and I want to tell it as quickly as I can with as many characters as I can. Who am I going to get to be? Who am I going to get to meet? Who else is doing this? And maybe some graphics that explain what your options are. With my high patient people, I want to build relationship. I want to get to know them. I want them to feel seen and heard and safe and cared for through the process with some instruction about what's going to happen and where it's going to happen. And then with my highly planned folks, I want to give them the opportunity to analyze and dig deep on all of the details. They're going to love getting into those details and doing that research and thinking things through. So giving them some time to think that through, maybe giving them small pieces of information, time to think, and then a call to action. A small piece of information, time to think, a call to action. So you can start to really match who you're marketing to with different messages, different sales processes, different marketing campaigns, so that you're speaking directly to that person. I feel like you get me. I feel like you would be the kind of advisor that I could work well with because you're feeding me exactly what I need. It's just the high bullets. It's just the return. It's a little bit of how I can weigh in. Or it's a great story about how I'll be part of this group and who else is doing this kind of work with you. Or maybe it's a great story about how you provided safety and a unique custom handheld experience with easy instructions to follow. Or it's maybe about how much detailed information and research you have, what kind of education you have, what kind of continuing education you go through to make sure that you're making the best recommendations for me and for my family. So again, without your clients even knowing that you've done this work up front for them, you can start to really customize what their experience is with you. And that's part of the reason that we're so excited about this. So you can customize your marketing messages, you can customize your sales process, and you can customize that first meeting agenda so that you're speaking to people the way they want to be spoken to. So again, super excited about that. Now, I want to give you, just tee up another scenario that Leon's going to talk to you a little bit about. So the scenario that I talked about was maybe it's your prospect list or your leads list or your LinkedIn list or a list of conference attendees. But now I want Leon to talk to you specifically about what he did at a conference that he recently attended and what that experience was like and what you could also have.
Thank you, Nikki. So as Nikki was saying, this was really exciting. This just happened a couple of weeks ago when we were invited to, or we won the Innovation of the Year award for client onboarding. So Financial Planning Magazine had their list of individuals that were registered. So we asked their permission. We actually did a digital scan for everyone in the group. It was pretty powerful. We shared this with the organizers at the conference because we wanted to make sure they knew what we were doing. We used a power app with Microsoft to be able to show this on an iPad where we actually scheduled out who we were going to talk with. And you can see here, this is the high level overview. We had 298 individuals attending the session. It was a fairly intimate conference. 235 companies were represented. You can see their risk score was 51%. And as Nikki outlined those 4 different styles, you can see here that we had 64% of the individuals at this conference were take charge, which wasn't too surprising for us, but it's nice to see that stat. The 1% which were patient, going into that, you can't talk to them the same way that you can sort of a take charge individual. So it really helped us outline what we were going to talk with, the messaging that we would use. The 11% is the outgoing, and the planned at 23%. And it really gave us a good representation of what the group looked like. And I will say the organizer was pretty fascinated with that. And then when you dig down a little bit deeper, sort of when you start the app, then you can actually drill down into an individual record if you're going to meet with someone at a conference, because most of us attend a conference or we actually put on our own conferences. So this is what we know. And we actually did this scan of Hugh Massey, who was our founder. It shows his risk score, his take charge, ask them questions if you want to introduce yourself, how fast paced do we need to be or slow down or explain things a little bit more detailed, keep it business-like, keep helping them stay connected, their meeting approach, presentation style, all these great tips just from this one scan to be able to show that. And we had one for everyone, a card for every individual. And it really helped expedite just getting to know people and how they were, what they were planning to do at the conference, what they wanted out of the conference. It made it just unbelievably easy for all of us. It was a great use case for us. And we continue to spotlight this because almost every company does some sort of an event or they're participating in an event. And having these digital scans was a pretty impressive sort of offering.
Thanks, Leon. That's really great. And I think, also this could be used with your existing client base to see who do you attract. It's not surprising that with that many people, a risk score is right in the middle because you're going to have some people that are really high and some people that are much more conservative. So with that group, seeing that risk score kind of in the middle, but just giving you an idea, where are your clients? Do you tend to attract one type of client? Like this conference clearly attracts one type of individual or a group of individuals that have that more take charge style. And so like Leon said, now that they know that, they have some decisions to make. Do they want to attract some of these other groups more? Or do they want to really play up that that's their base and that's who they really want to serve? So that, you can make some decisions based on who's in that community. And I think that because our team is behaviorally smart, they could also arrange, given who's going to the conference from our organization, who was going to be there, they could strategize to get, some of our more planned communicators to meet with that planned group versus our take charge communicators to meet with the more take charge group, because it's going to just be an easier connection. You don't have to remember how to change your style if you're meeting with somebody that's just like you. So you can plan who's going to attend the conference and how you might want to approach the other attendees based on your natural style so that you'll naturally connect with some people easier than others.
And that's we did exactly what you said, Nikki. We were able to sort of map those meetings out. And, this is a conference that had a lot of take charge individuals, but if you had a conference that was a little bit more on the patient side, where you had people, if we show up, you see all these take charge people, but then people from your company, you really want them to match sort of the audience that's there. It really makes it so much easier for everybody to connect.
So we're going to move a little bit now into, so all of that, everything that we just described, all of that behavioral marketing, all of the ways that you can customize your offerings, all of the ways that you can customize that first meeting, all of the ways that you can start to understand an audience. So whether that's a prospect list or a conference list, all of the ways that you can start to understand the people that you're working with, seeing a dashboard like that, having a specific, go meet this person and this is how you do it. Is super helpful. And all of that was available with a digital scan. Nobody took any assessment data for us to get that information. So that's the upfront digital scan. But now we're also suggesting that the full scan gives you even more insights. So once you've established that relationship, once you've started that relationship and you've started off on the right foot, being behaviorally smart and getting those people in through your marketing, into a lead or into your client, now, how do I customize specifically to that client? So now, instead of taking 298 people and putting them in one of 4 groups, how do I get really specific so that I know that the way I talk to Leon and the way I talk to Nikki is a little bit different? So this will require the full scan. But the good news is if I've done a digital scan, I can see that in my system, in my app. And I have an easy way to invite that person to take a full scan, and then I will see their full scan results. And I'm going to let Leon talk to you about how our advisors are using these full scan results in their practices.
Right. So this is there's a lot of information on here. We'll try to break it down here, but this is a representation from the DNA, the web app. And it's an application, an account that the person would show up in the digital scan if you have that service, and then the full scan, which has been our primary business. But you can see here on the top left of the screen, the financial DNA 5 scores. That really helps give an advisor an overview of how a client wants to be communicated with, how risk behavior, what's their risk behavior, how likely are they going to work with the advisor. That second score, that 62, shows the financial relationship management. That client would need a little bit of guidance from an advisor. When we see 10% or 15%, that's a DIY type client. So just knowing that going into it can be really important. And how their financial planning, are they organized? That third score, that 18% on the top left side. How likely are they to actually organize themselves to come to the meeting prepared? And the last 2 scores are really around their wealth building motivation and their financial emotional intelligence. Are they going to react negatively to sort of the markets changing and shifting? And it's all data that you'd need to know. All these analytics are really important when you're working with clients, and all right there in the dashboard. The next score is at the middle there, risk behavior. So this client is what we call an 86 on the risk score out of the ASMA standard, from 1 to 99. So it's very high risk taking individual. So when you're actually building their portfolio, they're 6 out of 7. So they're a pretty high growth client. So that's really important to know. That third score there, down at 67%, is the style match. I'm the advisor, and I'm a 67% style match with this client. That says it's pretty high at 67. It's what we'd call moderate on being able to connect. But there might be some things that I miss with the client that I would really want to drill down and see. But if it's 40%, it means that I probably want to have another team member helping me, making sure that that person's a little bit a higher match. So that's one of the features of the DNA web app that a lot of advisors like, is that style match. It instantaneously gives you what the style match of you and the individual are. There's a second component where you can do a style match with the client couple if they're working as a couple, and seeing how likely they are when they're making decisions. Are they pretty close or are they pretty far apart? You can really see the advantages. And that style match is something that many firms like to use when they're assigning clients to advisors, because you really know you want somebody to be fairly high. You just don't want somebody that's going to be on the lower side, because it'll probably create some uniformity issues, potentially some compliance issues that you really want to make sure you're being attentive to. That next box there, the behavioral biases, you can see are stacked ranked. In the DNA full scan, we measure 16 behavioral biases. Now that's a lot, but when you see the reports, we highlight the first two because that's pretty important. That really drives a lot of the behavioral. But there are instances where you'd really just want to know these behavioral biases and just understand how they work together. It's pretty easy to understand once you sort of go through a couple of them. We use a Gene AI tool in our system, so even if you have a question about it, it'll give you the answer, with a specific client. So it's quite user friendly. And then that last box over there, market mood, we have a system that actually ties to the S&P 500. So when you log into the account, you can see what the market mood of your client is for that particular day. And it's based on a trailing 15-day average. So if you have someone, we know this client at an 86 risk behavior is probably optimistic, typically even in a down market. But knowing what scripts to have to be able to talk to that client, even if they see it as an opportunity, you can click on the market mood. It'll give you some tips to actually work with that client. It's all very guided. Then down on the left-hand side, we see the T-scores. And if you remember, I talked about that 67% match that I have with the client. But if I actually look at both of our T-scores together, when they're mapped there, I'll really see where our biggest difference is. Where's that other, 23% that, I don't know, that could be a problem for us. I can really isolate it down in these T-scores and really isolate where we have a difference, whether it's this person's more take charge than I am, or they're more creative than I am. There's just some things that really help me understand how to work better with this client. And then in the box called communication keys, I really see, and I've been with DNA now for 12 years, and I've never had a situation where I didn't have these 5 communication keys that help me really connect with the individual. It's really important that you hit upon one of these 5, if not all of them, in your communication with these individuals. Because even though Nikki and I are both initiators in our DNA unique style, we both have different communication keys that really just lend itself to a better way to work together. And we do work together, pretty closely, but then we do have these differences that, Nikki helps complement or vice versa when we're working together. I can always also see with Michael's struggles here, really where he's probably, we always say that a strength overplayed can be the struggle, because that means that they probably have this huge strength in their unique style or in their T-scores, but it can also work against them if it's done if they're not aware of it. So, for Michael, being flexible, willing to adjust is really important. He works well with broad concepts because he's probably pretty creative, improvises on the spot, good at meeting people, and likes to make a good impression on others. That's important. This is somebody that's on that outgoing side that Nikki was mentioning. It's important to be able to work with somebody that has that unique wiring. Because if I'm working with what we call a reflective thinker, they operate very differently. They want data. They don't really enjoy meeting new people. They want to go into the relationship pretty studied up before they start communicating with them. We also see Michael's strength or his struggles, probably because he does take on too much. He can be too quick to decide. We may want to give him a little bit of time before we make a decision. And then he has this strong need for approval from others. That's just important to know. Doesn't mean that I have to take action on it, but it really is important to know the full scan of this individual. It's pretty important. And then when I'm ready to do a communication with Michael, I do know that he really prefers in-person meetings. So taking the time to actually connect with him, to actually schedule that meeting is important. And then even inviting him to the office or a networking event can be pretty important. That's what we call the full scan of the individual. in the DNA web app. It really gives you great diagnostics. You can also match two people together when you're working with a couple and really understand how best to work with that individual or that couple. So that's our third use case. And then Nikki is going to talk about the flip side of it, which is the work talent. Same questionnaire, same full scan questionnaire. And this is the information you get in the DNA web app in the full scan.
Thanks, Leon. So great examples. And so many of our community are in the financial planning space. And so understanding what are the biases that this person's going to use to make decisions, and how do I best communicate with them? What are their strengths? How do I best really work with them? And now we have the opportunity also with that same scan, like Leon said, this is just a different tab in the system, to be able to start looking at your own employees and how do you and your boss work together. So who do you have on your team? When you're looking at potentially matching one of your advisors with a client, how are your advisors wired? And so this is a way to look at what are the work talents. So the view that you just saw was about what are my financial behaviors? How do I think about money? How do I want to spend money? How do I want to work with an advisor? And in this view, we're looking more about how do you do work? Do you tend to be more results focused or more relationally focused? Do you tend to be more daring or more careful, more abstract or more concrete in using ideas, more systematic about the way you plan work, or more flexible about the way you go about working, or more promoting and outgoing, or more behind the scenes and operational? So you'll still see those scores that we saw in the other view. So we've looked at the same person. So you're seeing the same information, right? Still that 67% match. Like Leon talked about, you'll see what their top traits are. And again, those strengths and struggles and communication keys. Here you might also see some work talents, things that people might, roles that people might be good in. And then also just some business insights. Do I like to pursue goals? Do I like innovation? Do I have a high need for analysis? Am I good at building long-term relationships? So those are things that you would see here. Again, if you've got, there is a lot of information here, but if you have questions about it, our Gene AI tool is right there on the screen with you. So you can just pop it open and say, what does this mean? Or I see this score and I don't know how to talk to my client about it. And Gene will give you a script for talking to your client about how to work with them. You can do that with a comparison. Like Leon said, you can pull your whole team into a view this way and see where you have strengths and gaps on your team. I also think for financial advisors, you might not have a big team. You might not run this with your employees very often. But one of the things that I've heard as a challenge for financial advisors is when there's a big life change, that's an inflection point where people sometimes make a new decision about their advisor. So whether that's a death in the family, or whether that's a loss of a job, or whether that's children moving off to college, if you want to try to capture those moments in your client's life, this can be a really great add-on. So offering your clients who have children going to college, offering those college applicants an opportunity to do this assessment, one, gets them into your system, helps you know how to market to them, helps you know specifically who they are in making financial decisions, but gives them a lot of information when you share these reports about what kind of skills and what kind of jobs might they have. How do they talk about themselves in their college applications, about what their strengths are? Often people have trouble with that if they don't have a lot of work experience. How do I talk about my strengths? This gives you clear, innate behavioral strengths that you have and allows you to add value to your clients by helping them with identifying strengths, identifying places that people may want to pursue careers and ideas for job roles that, based on these unique strengths, that they might be suited for. It's also an opportunity if you've got clients that are going through some sort of job change. Maybe they've been laid off. And they're now looking for a new job. This is obviously going to impact their financials. And so again, helping them speak to their strengths, look for a career that's going to be something that they're going to enjoy and be good at and be able to use their strengths. This could be a real value add. And also in encore careers. So we have one consultant that's working with our system that's using it to help people define their encore careers. So once they've retired from whatever that was, so you may have become a lawyer because your father was a lawyer and your grandfather was a lawyer, and so that was the thing that you needed to do. But maybe that's not the thing that really speaks to you. You're good enough at it, but maybe it's not the thing that you want to do or that you would do post career. And so this can give you some opportunities to really explore where are my passions? Where does my behavioral style match a passion so that I can go and pursue that post career? So there are lots of ways that you can use this. Again, Gene can help. If I'm wired this way, what might be some good jobs that I might get? How might I answer interview questions about my strengths and struggles? Those are things that you can ask the tool and that they can help with, and could be a differentiator for you in your business. How you offer this to clients, where you offer this to clients can make a difference to maybe being a little bit stickier, being a little bit more of a holistic life advisor to your clients, so that they want to stay with you, so that their next generation wants to stay with you because they recognize that you helped them, and sometimes that we're a transition and a difficulty. We also see teams use this. I work with this with teams all the time to establish and create some psychological safety in the organization, because it's something that's very personal to me. These scores are very personal to me. So for this person that we're looking at on the screen, they're going to tend to be somewhat cooperative, but also very outgoing. They'll be somewhat fast-paced, quick to make decisions, and fairly spontaneous about the way they get those decisions made, pretty flexible, pretty high level. They ask really difficult questions, though, and they may ride the line between having a more content and stable and flexible life and being a little bit more pioneering. They tend to be pretty good risk takers, though, and a little bit more on that creative side. So how do I schedule work with these people? How do I, where are they going to be best fit on my team? How do I match them with people that they're going to connect well with when I'm looking at client matching? How do I counsel them to make a flex in those behavioral approaches? If this person was going to do a lot of detailed analysis for me, I would have some concerns about how outgoing and talkative they might be, about how fast-paced they are, and about how spontaneous and high level they are, about their ability to get into the weeds and detail and do a lot of detail analysis. But if I was hiring them to do marketing and event management, that might be a really great fit. So again, this just kind of helps you understand who you've got. This also requires that deeper scan. So you can start with a digital scan and get kind of a big grouping, and then dive deeper in that full scan. Again, really easy switch in our system. But we think that once you start to understand the digital scan results, you're going to really want to dive deeper into some of these. And we don't intend for you to see everything and really digest everything that's on the screen here but as an example of the kinds of insights that you can see in our system. They're graphic, they're visual. You can customize them so that they're in your colors, your business logo colors. So we're excited to share this with you all, and we'd like to encourage you, as you have questions, to get in touch with us.
And we do have one question, Nikki.
Okay.
So John, thank you for submitting that. And I think we can both answer this one. Does digital scan provide the insights to one's DNA 10 behavior styles, the communication styles, as well as the 4 groups that you outlined earlier in your discussion, Nikki? And the answer is yes, but think about the 4 styles that Nikki mentioned as almost overlays, almost quadrants of the 10 unique styles. So that's, it's deep. The full scan is a deeper insight into an individual, and then the digital scan gives you those communication and learning preferences, and really to be able to work in hyper-personalizing marketing messages. Anything to add to that, Nikki?
I think you covered it well. The digital scan is kind of that first step. But we can really get a lot deeper when we get the full scan. But we recognize that sometimes getting prospects to take a discovery is difficult. And so if we think about this as a marketing tool, as an outreach tool, that digital scan, rather than the only tool that you need to really customize experiences with people, you can customize your marketing, you can customize your meeting agenda this way. But to really get to know people at that individual level, we suggest that you move forward with the full scan.
Very good. All right. And one thing we wanted to do also, our contact information is there, but we also think it's important. Nikki and I both make ourselves available, and if I'm putting it into the chat here. So if you want to just grab that, our QR code is right there. But if you just want to talk about sort of how it would affect your business, Nikki has expertise in implementing the whole program, and I can talk pretty theoretical around it. But I'm happy to talk with you, and so is Nikki. If you just want to have a quick chat, we're happy to do that. We're also planning to have we're planning to have another webinar on the 12th of November where we'll talk a little bit deeper around this, but we're interested in any feedback that you do have on it because we're pretty excited about the whole digital scan program. It's new to the business, but it's really helped elevate our discussions to that being able to, your whole client base being digitally scanned, something that we didn't even envision 10 years ago when we were starting, to move to this full scan and really optimizing all the data that you see that we presented in the 2 use cases, where it was really the full scan, really understanding that, which we do believe is important. But having that digital scan can really make a big difference, just knowing who you're meeting with, how to match your clients to your advisors. And as Nikki mentioned, the other thing that I think is really underutilized in the system is the ability to actually do generational work with not only the client couple that you're working with, but their children, really helping in family planning meetings, that team report that Nikki mentioned. There's a lot of information that really helps understand who the other people in the family are. It's a huge opportunity to grow the business. All right. Anything else? I think we got one more question here. So how long is the full scan questionnaire? It takes about 10 minutes to complete it. And it's a forced choice methodology, but the average time is actually 10 minutes and 30 seconds to complete it. Some people complete it in 8 minutes, others 15. There's a prompt in the system that if they're taking a little bit too long, it'll prompt them to speed it along because we really want the best results when you take that full scan.
And it's 46 questions to get through that 10 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions that we have? We got another one here. So the question is, did anyone who saw the digital scan results ask to take the full scan? I would say people are really curious to see the accuracy of it. So it does drive quite a bit of interest in taking the full scan. I think if they have the preference to do both, they probably prefer to do the full scan because it really gets into those deeper insights that Nikki mentioned. Any other questions? All right. Well, we have recorded the session and we will actually send it out to everyone so they do, so you'll be able to actually reflect back on any of the conversations that we've had and you can schedule time. One other question I think we do have here is how long all they do is log in the same way. So the question is, I guess, digital scan versus full scan. If you remember, with digital scan, the person doesn't even have to complete the questionnaire. So you as the consultant or the advisor can drive the process to get them into the DNA web app. That's something that you can do sort of without somebody taking the questionnaire. But then once they are in the system, you can dispatch the full questionnaire, that full scan questionnaire. Hopefully, Joe, that answered your question. If not, just ping me and we can chat. All right. I want to thank everybody for their time today. Really appreciate it, giving a couple minutes back of your day, and we'll get that recording out to you. Nikki, thank you very much for the time. Great job in explaining the 4 different styles, which is always easy to understand. So thank you very much. We appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, everybody.